Hey there folks, before we dive into today's thrilling adventure, make sure to follow S News to catch this and all our future videos. Don't forget to support us by subscribing, liking and dropping a comment. We appreciate every bit of it. High-speed drug bust in the Pacific. The radar room aboard the USS Samson lit up with a single fast-moving blip, 380 nautical miles southwest of Acapulco, right in the middle of a quiet eastern Pacific patrol corridor. One flash, moving fast. This wasn't a game of guesses. The ship's Combat Information Center was built for action. Within 20 seconds, radar operators confirmed it. A low-riding, high-speed vessel skimming the waves. The kind of speed drug cartels use when trying to outrun authorities. No call sign, no flag, no response to radio calls. Then came the second signal movement. On the ship's forward camera feed, black packages spilled off the back of the boat. Lots of them. Not fuel. Evidence. They're dumping cargo.
Up on the bridge, I didn't hesitate. I didn't need a court order or a media headline. I needed air support. Fast. All stations. Condition 3. Operation Romeo is launched.
Within 90 seconds, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter, call sign Reaper 1, lifted off from the flight deck. It banked southeast and closed in quickly. Down below, the suspect vessel kept its throttle wide open, drawing white arcs across the blue water. It was trying to disappear over the horizon. But the destroyer Samson wasn't patrolling randomly. It was deep in Pacific Watch, a high-priority maritime interdiction mission targeting long-range drug smuggling routes. Today, the US Navy was about to intercept a drug shipment worth $58 million, live. And the smugglers had no idea what was coming. Reaper 1 pushed forward at 120 knots, flying just 200 feet above the sea. It wasn't there to bluff. On board were door gunners, tracking gear, and a Coast Guard law enforcement detachment, Ledette 104 from the southwest region. They'd rehearsed this moment 100 times, now it was real.
As the chopper came into view, the speedboat made its next move, a sudden zigzag turn followed by full throttle west. They were pushing every bit of horsepower they had.
But the roar of rotor blades behind them was getting louder. In a panic, the crew started dumping more cargo, fast, frantic, messy. One package missed and slammed into the hull, exploding on contact. A flash of white water, not a good sign for them. Reaper 1's targeting system locked in. Below, the suspects finally looked up. No radio, no response, no slowing down. They'd passed the point of no return. Warning shots were cleared. The Seahawk banked hard left.
No podemos parar ahora. We can't stop now.
The door gunner swung out and opened fire, short bursts hitting the water just 10 meters from the boat's right side. The message was clear: stop now or things escalate. It didn't work. The suspects kept running. More cargo kept hitting the water.
Commander Harding made the call. Disable the boat. Disable the engine.
Seconds later, the Seahawk circled back. This time they didn't miss. The gunner hit the boat's rear. Bullets tore through the outboard motors. One caught fire, then died. The vessel shook, slowed, and began trailing smoke. It didn't sink, but it was finished. Now drifting in open water, the suspects looked up again, this time with their hands in the air, but it wasn't over. Reaper 1 hovered above while two inflatable boats launched from the port side of Samson. On board were VBSS teams, visit, board, search and seizure. Fully armed, fully trained, moving fast. They'd be on the target in under 4 minutes, and when they got there, it wouldn't just be about stopping smugglers, it'd be about arrests, recovery and law enforcement in action. Because what came next wasn't just speed, it was law. It was how a warship hands over legal authority to US law enforcement while still at sea. That moment was coming fast. The two inflatable boats raced ahead. White Hart led the charge.
In moments, Coast Guard officers took control.
The VBSS teams reached the damaged boat. Guns raised. Commands shouted in both Spanish and English.
No resistance.
The suspects complied. Two men, mid-30s, sunburnt, adrenaline still in their eyes, dropped to their knees on the fiberglass deck, hands behind their heads, eyes locked on the hovering Seahawk. They weren't armed, but what was floating in the water around them was much more dangerous. More than a dozen tightly wrapped bales floated nearby, some half-submerged, others already waterlogged. Each one was marked and logged by the boarding team. Then came the handover. Once the suspects were secure, the legal process began. Under international maritime law, any vessel without a flag or registration is considered stateless. That means it can be boarded and searched under US jurisdiction. And because this boat didn't declare its nationality and ignored all warnings, the Coast Guard had full authority. Field test kits were opened. A sample was cut from one soaked brick, white powder. The team sergeant pressed it to a test strip. Within seconds, it turned light blue, confirmed cocaine, final haul 47 bales, about 3,439 pounds, 560 kilograms, estimated street value $58 million. And that's just the conservative estimate. Depending on where it was headed, that number could easily triple.
The suspects were restrained and read their rights under US Maritime counter-narcotics protocols. They said nothing.
The boarding team inspected the go-fast boat. No lights, engines destroyed. Cracked fiberglass hull, no radio, no life jackets, no way to tow it. Bottom line? It wasn't seaworthy, it was a floating liability. One of the agents radioed back to the USS Samson vessel secured, 2 in custody. Cocaine confirmed, boat classified as a navigation hazard. But the mission wasn't over. It wasn't just about stopping a boat, it was about what comes next. Which meant Samson was about to take on a very different role, one that didn't involve boarding but destruction.
The USS Samson wasn't just wandering the Pacific for no reason. Its presence was deliberate. It's part of Pacific Watch, a joint maritime security operation run by U.S. Northern Command in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security and Coast Guard Pacific Area Command.
The goal? Intercept transnational criminal threats before they reach U.S. shores. That means monitoring high-risk smuggling corridors between Central America and the southern United States. And today, that meant being exactly 380 miles southwest of Acapulco.
But stopping a stateless boat with a warship isn't just about tactics, it's also about legal authority. The Navy has the reach, firepower, and speed to find and stop targets, but legally, they can't arrest suspects or seize narcotics on their own. That's where the Coast Guard comes in.
Our Law Enforcement Detachment, or LEDET, is a small team of specialized Coast Guard agents embedded aboard U.S. Navy ships. Once it's confirmed that a vessel is stateless and carrying illegal cargo, operational control is handed over from the Navy's combat chain of command. Today, that's U.S. 3rd Fleet, to Coast Guard District 11 in California. It's a quiet but critical handoff.
In minutes, the mission shifts from combat readiness to precision law enforcement. For the Samson crew, it's routine, but high risk. This destroyer, DDG-102, is an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile ship, usually tasked with ballistic missile defense or anti-submarine warfare. But in dynamic theaters like Pacific Watch, it adapts.
Radar operations go from scanning for threats to tracking smugglers. Tomahawk missile launchers stay silent. RHI boats, those rigid hull inflatables, take the lead. This hybrid model, naval power backed by Coast Guard law, is now the gold standard for maritime interdiction.
And in this case, it removed $58 million in illegal cargo without a single shot fired at a person. But there was still one problem: the boat itself. Unseaworthy, untowed, filled with cracked fiberglass and engine oil. This wasn't something you bring back to port.
It was something you send to the bottom. By 0945, the mission shifted again from seizure to disposal. The go-fast boat drifted silently beside Samson, tethered by a single line. Even sitting still, it was dangerous. The hull was badly cracked along the keel, engines torn up, no anchor, no lights, no working bilge pump, no safe way to tow it 380 miles through open ocean. In short, it was a hazard. One rogue wave, and it could become a ghost ship, waiting to puncture a cargo ship or wreck a fishing vessel.
Vessel unseaworthy, recommend controlled disposal.
Log it, prep for scuttle.
The USS Samson doesn't carry demolition charges for fun, but it doesn't need to. Her crew has done this before. The boarding team stripped the boat of anything salvageable: empty fuel cans, GPS mounts, even the throttle lever. Every single kilo of cocaine was sealed, labeled, and packed into an evidence freezer. The 2 suspects now sat silently in Samson's detention hold. The crew set up a controlled sink plan. One of the RHIBs returned, this time carrying a small mounted charge rigged to the back of the boat. It wasn't built for fireworks, just a few clean holes, low, precise. At 10:12, A short call came from the bridge.
Detonate on my mark.
Mark, a muffled pop, nothing cinematic, no fireball, just bubbling. The sea calmed again, except for the hum of the Seahawk still circling overhead. It wasn't dramatic, it was deliberate. Because when the Navy sinks a drug boat, it's not about the show. It's about removing threats, cleaning up the ocean and sending a message. If you smuggle in international waters, you risk losing more than just your cargo. This wasn't just a failure for the smugglers, it was a plan falling apart. What happened on July 10th in the Eastern Pacific is how the US flexes power without firing missiles or crossing borders. A warship, a helicopter, a boarding team, a legal transfer, all executed in fast coordination. But the bigger picture is deterrence. Cartel logistics rely on calculated risk. Every go-fast boat that makes it through earns millions, but every one that gets caught, especially by a destroyer, sends a message: no route is safe, no distance is far enough, no engine is fast enough. This operation, 380 miles offshore, delivered a loud, clear message. The US isn't just guarding its coasts, it's expanding the battlefield. And then there's the ship itself, USS Samson, a guided missile destroyer built to hunt submarines and intercept missiles, now taking down drug smugglers. That kind of adaptability isn't a fluke. The US Navy's multi-role mission philosophy means ships like this can change focus within hours. One day, missile defense in the Sea of Japan, the next a narcotics chase in the Pacific. It's not just about what Samson did, it's about what it represents: presence, reach, pressure. Every cartel spotter tracking US ships just learned something new. Even a billion-dollar warship might show up in your rearview mirror, and it won't be bluffing, because when the US Navy shows up, it doesn't chase, it intercepts. No missiles fired, no lives lost. Just one destroyer, one Coast Guard team, and $58 million in narcotics gone. Finally, thanks for listening, folks. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to follow S News and catch our future videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a